Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tearing apart what is, well, perhaps the most spectacular and rapid collapse of an emerging iGaming market in recent history.
It really is. This isn't one of those stories about finding a hidden gem.
No, not at all. This is a high-stakes, nine-figure cautionary tale about what happens when, political volatility meets a huge capital investment.
A collision course.
Exactly. We are diving into the incredibly brief life of the East Timor offshore gambling market.
And the analysis we're pulling from today, it's our own East Timor iGaming Market Analysis Report.
Right. And for anyone new, a bit about us. We're the Gambling Databases research team. We're dedicated to delivering these kinds of in-depth analyses of the global iGaming landscape.
In every report we do, we look at everything from local regulations and tax to, the actual player experience and operator conditions.
Our whole goal is to give you a clear, data-driven picture of how the industry really works in each unique market.
And this deep dive, I think, is essential listening. But not because there's an opportunity here.
No, far from it.
It's because this is a textbook example of critical regulatory failure. This story is less about potential gain and far, far more about capital risk.
The risk when a government just isn't stable. The failure here was total.
Complete.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the initial setup, the hope that East Timor had. It's a developing Southeast Asian nation. It's young, about 1.3 million people, and the median age is just 20.8.
So you see the potential on paper. A young population, a government looking to diversify its economy.
Right, and their strategy was to leverage their OCUS free trade zone, setting up something called the OCUS Digital Center to attract international tech, finance, and iGaming.
And look, they recognize that offshore licensing can be a quick way to get revenue, but only if you can provide stability.
Which is the key word here.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating is the speed they launched with and how professional it all seemed at first. In April 2025, East Timor launched its first official offshore iGaming license.
And this was through their Inspectorate General of Gaming, the IGJ.
That's right.
And the framework itself, it wasn't some, cobbled together piece of legislation. They were marketing it as world class.
And on paper, it really was excellent. They basically took a shortcut to legitimacy. They moderned their entire framework to align with established, reputable jurisdictions.
So you're thinking Malta, the Isle of Man.
Exactly. Or maybe even the newer, more rigorous structures in Curacao. They offered B2C and B2B licenses valid for up to 10 years.
That signals long-term commitment. It says we're serious, we're here to stay, we get the global standards.
It's meant to, and they actually got a taker. A big one.
One major operator saw that framework and decided to take the leap.
They did. And this is where the sheer scale of the financial loss just becomes staggering.
Who was it?
The sole license holder was a company called Golden River Universe Lida, or GRU. And our analysis shows they reportedly invested over $100 million.
$100 million?
Over $100 million, all to establish their compliant base inside that OCUS Digital Center.
Wow. That is an astonishing vote of confidence for a brand new jurisdiction. I mean, especially one with known infrastructure problems.
They were banking on the regulatory stability being as strong as it looked on paper.
I bet they lost.
And they lost it fast. That confidence just evaporated.
Which brings us to where the failure really begins. October 2025. Just 6 months after that big launch.
6 months.
The government abruptly cancels all existing online gambling licenses, and they suspend new applications indefinitely. It was an immediate, total reversal.
The official reason they gave was stark, and it immediately damaged the country's reputation for any kind of investment.
What did they say?
Warnings about national security risks, allegations of criminal network infiltration linked to the new online gambling activities.
Okay, so hold on. If the framework was so world-class, how did it all fall apart because of some alleged security threats in just half a year?
That's the million-dollar question, or in this case, the $100 million question.
Was the framework really robust, or was it just, window dressing that crumbled at the first sign of pressure?
I think we have our answer. The major takeaway here is just zero regulatory credibility, zero commitment. You have this world-class framework, a 9-figure investment from an operator, and then, poof, gone.
It just signals that the political will to support the industry was paper thin.
Exactly. It was weaker than whatever internal political or security pressure it faced.
$100 million just incinerated in 6 months. That's not a failed startup. That's institutional capital being publicly destroyed.
You almost have to feel for the risk assessors on that deal.
Almost. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, the whole thing gets even crazier.
Right, because the market was arguably impossible from the start, even before the government pulled the plug.
This is the fatal flaw, the economic absurdity that was buried right there in the regulation.
Let's be very clear about this.
Local Timorese residents are what?
They are completely prohibited from accessing these licensed offshore sites.
So the entire local population of 1.3 million people is not your market.
Not at all. You are mandated to set up in East Timor, hire local staff, pay taxes there, but the people who actually live there legally, off limits. It eliminates the entire addressable market from day one.
That makes no sense. The whole idea of economic development through local gaming revenue is gone.
Completely invalidated. The only market you could serve was the rest of the world from this one tiny, isolated administrative center.
And even if locals were allowed to play, the economics are brutal.
Brutal. We're talking a nominal GDP per capita of only about $1,500.
Wow.
In our report, we characterize the economics as extreme poverty economics. For an iGaming operator, the math on customer acquisition on ARPU, it just doesn't work. The foundation is quicksand.
And then you layer the infrastructure problems on top of that. Internet penetration is only around 45%.
And even that number is a bit misleading. The majority of people live in rural areas,
Where you've got inconsistent power and internet speeds are.
generally below 5 megabits per second.
5 MBAX. I mean, you can't run a modern casino on that. Real-time betting, live
Right.
dealers. Forget about it. It's a recipe for constant lag and a terrible customer experience.
Your operational viability is just nil. Even if the government hadn't shut you down, you can't run a global service hub on that kind of infrastructure.
Which leads to the paradox of what they demanded from operators.
Exactly. Despite zero local revenue, despite the terrible infrastructure, operators were mandated to set up a physical presence,
Local offices, local staff.
all inside that isolated Ocus digital center.
So you've got this huge operational complexity, high overheads, for a market that can't generate any local money. It's a business model that's just designed to fail.
And the final piece of that puzzle is payments. The market runs on bank transfers and some local mobile money services.
But the key thing for international iGaming,
Limited credit and debit card acceptance, which is, the lifeblood for smooth international transactions. It's like asking a high-tech business to operate on a cash-only system.
it just defies all business logic. The market was functionally unusable.
Even in a perfectly stable world, it was unusable.
So, okay, regulatory instability killed the investment. But let's talk about the ultimate absurdity here. The financial incentives they offered were actually fantastic.
They were. On paper, the financial structure was among the most attractive in the world. They were clearly trying to lure capital in with competitive taxes.
And the numbers are pretty staggering. The gross gaming revenue tax, the GGR tax.
Exceptionally low. It ranged from just 2% to 5%, depending on the game category.
And just to put that in perspective for you listening, many established European markets have GGR taxes over 20%.
A 2 to 5% rate is usually what you see for like B2B supplies, not for direct consumer betting.
Yeah.
They were trying to compete with places known for, well, for regulatory arbitrage.
Like Curacao or parts of the Philippines.
Exactly. And you also had great corporate tax breaks in that free trade zone, tax holidays, reduced rates, and players themselves were exempt from taxes on winnings.
So the whole thing was simple for the end user?
So the question becomes, if the taxes were so good, why wasn't this enough? Why just one operator?
Because regulatory stability is just. It's worth more than any low tax rate.
It's exponentially more valuable.
This brings up such an important point. Our analysis notes the combined effective tax rate was competitive, around 24 to 27%, but that figure is completely meaningless.
Utterly meaningless. Because the projected time to break even in our analysis is explicitly labeled as never.
Never. That's a powerful word in a financial report.
When we ran the numbers, the investment required versus the tiny non-local market you could serve, plus the high operational costs,
Right.
there was just no path to ever being profitable.
Wow.
And we explicitly warned that the initial setup investment, which we estimate at maybe $400,000 to $900,000, that money will be destroyed.
Even that relatively small amount is just wasted capital.
Right, and that's before you even get to the 100 million GRU lost.
And the irony is, they set such a high bar for the operators themselves.
They did. They mandated strict compliance. KYC, AML, age verification, self-exclusion, all the international standards.
Know your customer, anti-money laundering.
All of it. They demanded the highest level of integrity from their licensees, but then the government itself just tore up the rulebook.
They showed zero commitment to their own framework. It makes all those compliance costs the operators paid completely moot.
The political instability is the single overwhelming risk factor here. It just drowned out everything else.
Okay, let's pull this all together. Let's use our rating system to really hammer home how bad the situation is. The report gives East Timor an overall market attractiveness rating of 2.1 out of 10.
And the one-word descriptor that goes with that score is unequivocal. Avoid.
And the two primary scores that make that up are just as damning. The operator ease score.
A shocking 1.8 out of 10. We rated that as prohibitive.
And the player access score.
2.5 out of 10. That's severely restricted.
Yeah.
Those scores, I mean, they reflect a market that isn't just difficult. It's fundamentally broken by its own design.
Let's just reiterate the critical risks. We are talking about a complete market collapse, where over $100 million in capital was lost by the first and only licensee. This is a public failure of due diligence on a massive scale.
And those criminal network allegations they used as the reason for the shutdown, that makes the jurisdiction radioactive.
Radioactive.
No serious, legitimate operator can afford the reputation damage that comes with a market that imploded under those circumstances.
Huh.
And the government showed zero stability. Why would anyone trust them again?
You wouldn't. The source's final verdict, and we're quoting here, says that entry into this jurisdiction is financial suicide.
And that the market should be blacklisted by every serious operator.
That's about as strong as it gets. It's the definition of a catastrophic failure driven entirely by political unpredictability.
And I think the story of East Timor, it really underscores a fundamental truth about emerging markets that you just have to remember.
What's that?
The greatest financial risk you face isn't competition. It isn't even a high GGR tax rate. It is the absolute unpredictability and lack of commitment from the governing authority itself.
The authority that can unilaterally destroy your business and all your capital overnight.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It's a crucial, if painful, case study in political volatility and capital destruction.
I hope this analysis helps inform your risk models for any market, really. It highlights that a good tax rate is worthless without an ironclad government commitment.
For the full text of this report and all of our other country reports, you can visit our website at gamblingdatabase.com.
We hope this analysis helps you navigate the global iGaming world with a clear, data-driven understanding of all the risks involved.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.